So I'm going to start with this clean canvas. I'm going to use the shade medium today. Medium's just going to be a little bit more warm. So I'm just going to tap that on with my Anisa eye treatment brush. All right, guys, I'm kind of already starting my eye here. I was just sitting down seeing if I want to do a warm crease. We're going to start with a warm crease. We're going to go into cool tones. It's going to be everywhere, but it's going to be the softest, prettiest purple with gray. I don't know. Let's just do it. So we're going to grab this. This is brand new from Dominique Cosmetics. So I do have a code with them if you guys want to check it out. The code is going to be Rose. I'm going to hop into these two shades. So this one you can use on your face as well, which we might do in just a little bit. But for right now, I'm just going to start to kind of tap this into my crease. We're first setting the base. I'm going to pick up a little bit more. I also want you to notice that I'm only picking up a little bit. I'm not going in here. I'm not going back and forth. I'm not loading up my brush. I would rather build the color than add too much on my brush and then not really have anywhere for it to go, and that really lends itself to over blending. So if you might see me pressing eyeshadow in and you might go, wow, that doesn't look very pigmented, it's the way I'm picking it up and I don't want it to over blend. So building is always best. All right, guys, now we're going to pick up the shade Ash, kind of cool it off a little bit. Notice that I'm picking it up right on the tip of my brush because now that this is set, we can kind of press it in here, and then if we want to, we can twirl our brush back and forth. Notice that I'm also holding my brush very far back. It actually gives us more control to kind of just pull it through here. And I'm just going to continue to build this up. So I'm going to press, and then I'm going to roll it back and forth. And we're really just kind of going the socket of the eye. All right, so now I'm going to grab P. Louise base. I'm going to grab, I believe this is Vivid Violet. Yes. You could just use a lighter color base. You don't need a purple one, but this is just going to make it a little bit extra spicy. I'll just pop a little bit on my brush here. Just a tiny little dot. You can see that little dot there. And then we'll just go ahead and tap this all over our lid. We're not doing a cut crease, so I'm just going to kind of tap it. Even if you want to kind of look up, that'll show us where to take it. I also don't want to take it too far out. I'm just going to tap back and forth, and then we'll find a pretty purple matte shadow to tap on top. But for right now, I'm just going to take it up, but it's not like a perfect that. It's more of just kind of pressing it into there. So I just want to make sure you guys know that we're just going to really tap this, and what I'm doing is I'm making sure it's a very thin layer without losing any of the purple pigment, but you want to make sure that it's really nice and thin. That is when you might have creasing. I always just want to let you guys know about that, especially with colorful bases. You really just want to take your time and spread them as thin as possible. Pretty is this palette. Ooh, we got pastels. So this is Like a Princess palette from Waterline Cosmetics. And I'm just going to grab this really pretty pastel purple. And I'm grabbing this on a MAC 252S. And I'm using that one because it's just going to set really fast and just kind of press it in there really nicely. So just kind of go back and forth, pressing that in. I'm going to pick up some more of the product, make sure it's nice and set over here. Just like with concealer, we want to make sure that we're not setting any creases. So that's why we took our time and really tapped that purple base out. It's nice and thin. That is pretty. So with whatever's left on here, I'm just going to kind of tap it away here a little bit. And I'm just going to take it and just kind of tap it all the way up here. You're not going to see much color, but it's really going to just really transfer that color and transition it, kind of tie everything together. As you can see, it's just a little bit. It's not going to cover up the warm tones, but it's just going to really tie in that purple. All right, we're going to do just a classic wing liner. I'm going to grab my liquid liner here from Mario. And I'm just going to start kind of where my eye separates. And instead of coming out, which wouldn't add any lift, we're going to go a little bit up. I hope this is a good angle for y'all. Now, one thing that I like for you guys to remember is don't really worry about the bottom part being perfect. That's what we can clean up later. The top part is where we really need to kind of make sure it's nice and smooth. I think we might just do a baby wing. We'll see where we go. I do love this one because it's a little bit longer and it gives you a little bit more control. So now we're just going to fill this in, and then I'm going to take a step back and look. So now I'm going to grab the liner, and I'm actually going to come from underneath, and that's going to give us a little bit more control. And this is more of a tight lining. I want to make sure that I don't have a complete line on top, but I do want to come from underneath. Just going to wiggle it back and forth. You're just kind of wiggling it into your lashes. And coming from underneath just gives us more control because we do want a little bit of the black liner there, but we definitely don't want it as thick. I'll just take this end of my Precision Duo liner, just kind of reshape it if I want to. And you can really kind of take this and pull the end to elongate it and really give it that nice sharp look. I kind of already did it over here. I'll just kind of clean up underneath there. Oh, these lashes are perfect. So I grabbed these. They are in the style Morning. This is the Makeaholics little lash book that I used yesterday, but I'm using these. And I'm just gonna grab my velour lash glue, run this along here. I like this one because you just kind of paint it on. It's really easy to work with. Okay, so we'll just pick it up with some tweezers. And this lash glue, it dries pretty fast. So we can just already go to town on that. Place it there, push it into there, and last but not least, just kind of angle it upwards. And then I like to kind of push it as it dries and just kind of push it upwards. Okay, so I prepped my skin, which you'll see in my IGTV or whatever I post tonight. You'll see it. I prepped the outer perimeter and underneath my eye with this. You guys know I love this one from Glow Recipe. It's so good. It's just so good. But I will say that I kind of focus this one and use it as a primer just on the outer perimeter. And we're going to use a different primer through the center. Now through the center of my face, I'm going to use a mattifying primer, and this one's one of my faves. It's from Illamasqua, and it's called the Matte Veil Primer. I'm going to apply this with my Anisa eye treatment brush just because I really want to focus it right where we might get any kind of shine. I'm going to use the Morphe foundation again today, so I want to try a different primer, see how a little bit of mattifying primer looked underneath that. So we're just going to work this right through here. I probably say this a lot, but I just want to remind you, and I get a lot of new supporters every day, let your primers dry down for at least 60 seconds. If you have longer, that would be better, but 60 seconds, it's just going to dry down and do what it's supposed to do. If I put foundation on too early, it's going to separate it, it's going to move it around, it's going to get cakey, it's going to be a mess. 60 seconds. So I feel one of the reasons people tend to stay away from cool tones and even a pretty cool purple like this is it tends to pull any kind of blue out from underneath their eyes. I can see it pulling mine, but that is when the smallest amount of color corrector comes in and saves the day. So I'm actually going to use this Sensual Skin Enhancer from Kevyn Aucoin, and I'm just going to grab, you guys have to see how little I'm about to grab. You see that? This is a Pat McGrath brush, and I'm just going to kind of tap it in here. And this shade I can use as a color corrector since it's a very peachy apricot color. And I'm just tapping it there. Now I'm going to switch the brush around to this side and just kind of tap that in until it's nice and thin and canceling out all of those purple undertones. I mean, you can already see a major difference. I forgot to tag the brush, but this one is from Pat McGrath. I like it. It's really just kind of pressing that color corrector in and it's giving me more control. It's really nice. So we're using the Morphe foundation again today. This is going to be my second time trying it. Yesterday I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, just watch it melt in. It kind of speaks for itself. It is medium to full coverage. I was going to try it a little bit more full coverage today. Just kind of seeing what it can do on this Monday. I think it's Monday. Lord, I hope it's Monday. It feels like a Monday. And I'm just going to press this in. Don't forget your ears. And I really know that I like a color match when I automatically don't want to just bring it down my neck as fast as possible. I feel like the color match on this is just divine. Now I do want to mention when we're doing more full coverage, you really just want to focus on the areas that can hold the most foundation. And that's going to be through the cheeks, really, the outer perimeter, through the center of the forehead and even the nose. They just can't hold as much product. So if I want to just add a little bit more here, with the foundation, that's where we can go more full coverage. If we're wanting to really even out skin tone and kind of fake full coverage, we'll do a powder foundation, which I will show you. Before we start setting with any kind of powder though, we're going to do our concealer. I'm going to grab my Kylie concealer and I'm going to use the shade Stone. I'm going to go a little bit lighter. And the reason I can go a little bit lighter is because I have that color corrector underneath my eye. It's kind of balancing and it's going to make sure that this lighter concealer does not turn any type of gray. It stays nice and true to the color here. I'm going to press this in with my Anisa angled concealer brush. looking pretty spicy. Okay, so I just wanted a light bronze. So I'm going to grab the Cover FX. Those were the bronzer drops in Sun Kissed. I'm just going to grab a little synthetic brush, just kind of place it where I want it. Notice that I'm kind of going above my natural contour here. And we're just going to tap this in like so. I'm going to take my Anisa Buffing Bronzer brush, and then we'll just kind of tap that in. You're going to have a really pretty, very soft bronze. I wanted some color, but I feel too much bronzer would take this look back to Instagram circa 2016. So we're kind of doing the same fill, but with new techniques. And that's what I love about makeup. We can kind of just go to our classics, but we can always update them. Okay, so we're going to start with our full coverage, our more full coverage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set underneath my eye first. And I'm going to use my Huda Easy Bake Powder. I'm going to use the shade Cupcake. It's pink, and it just gives us a little extra brightening. It's going to look like I'm baking, but once I press all of this powder in, it's going to completely disappear. I just don't feel that baking is as needed. When you really just take your time and press the powder in, you're going to get the same amount of coverage. And instead of the powder just sitting on top, you're actually working it in. And that's really what helps with creasing. Okay, so I've just set underneath my eyes. Now the rest of my face, we're actually going to grab a powder foundation. This one's from Makeup Forever. I'm using the shade R230, and I'm just going to grab a brush. This one's from Rare Beauty. This is actually the foundation brush, but these bristles are nice and packed in there very tight. So we're just going to start to work in small sections. And I'm going to focus most of this through the center. That's where we tend to get a little shiny. And I'm going to press this in. This is not only going to set our makeup, but it's just going to give us that extra coverage. And since it's so light, it's never going to look cakey. If I was to have piled on the foundation, it might not have worked as well. But a medium coat of the foundation followed by powder foundation, that's what it's at. Then we'll just take that same powder and we'll pop a little bit underneath here. And it's going to look like we have contoured the heck out of our face, but we haven't. It's an illusion. Okay, so we're going to use this palette. We're actually going to use this shade as our blush. I feel like that'll be really nice, not too bright, kind of tie everything together. This is a multi-use palette. I think that's super cool. Maybe we can even deepen our contour a little bit with it, just to try it out. That looks lovely. Beautiful. So I'm just going to place that right through here. Wow, that's nice. I'm gonna grab this Ilia brush. Like I said, I don't want to go overboard, so I'm gonna grab a smaller brush to do this. I'm actually just gonna grab a little bit of this shade, kind of what we have going on here in our crease, and we'll just tap that. I'm gonna start very close to my hairline and just press that in. I'm not gonna bring it down too far either, just a little bit of definition. These two colors are going to play really nice together, and it's really going to tie everything together because it's going to be what's in our upper crease. Recently rediscovered, look at this little baby I found. This was from House Labs. This is the micro tip, so this one's really tiny. And I haven't really been into tight lining lately, so I feel like this is the guy we've been looking for. So I want to pull this liquid liner all along the bottom of my lash line. I don't want to smoke out my lash line. I just want to really tight line it. Yep. I've been looking for him. He ran away. Woo! Judah is going to get jealous of this kitty cat eye shape. He's looking at me right now. This is like exactly how his eye looks. So I'm taking this Armani eye pencil and I'm just going to run it back and forth. This is a very comfortable eye pencil. A lot of you always ask me, my eye waters, what can I do? Look for something that just glides right on. This is going to do it. You can just see it right here. It just glides. That's the only way I can explain it. So we're going to do a little bit of, just a light lip contour. I'm going to use the shade Total Taupe here. Some Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil. Mama's wrestling something with aluminum foil back there. Now I'm just going to kind of take that lip liner and melt it towards the center. Just going to work it in. It's going to look real brown and real scary for a second, but y'all wait a second. Now, stay with me. So now I'm going to grab this lipstick from Lawless. It's in the shade Baby. I love this color. I feel like I've used this one a couple times. I'm always reaching for it. It's just a really pretty pink. So now we're going to grab one of the newer pigments from Carla Cosmetics in the shade Rockabye Baby. And it's going to pull a little purple. Just lightly tap a little bit of that right there. Since everything's so matte. So pretty. Ah! I love these pigments. Alright guys, we're all done. A little bit of simple spice for you today. I love this color purple. I'm actually really excited to use this palette again. It has really cool colors in it. So we'll be trying this out. It's over here next to where all my palettes that I use daily are. Let me go get all my content and I'm going to post all the details for you. I love you so much. Tomorrow I want to do something dark and mysterious. Just like that. Hissing included. I love you and see you tomorrow.